All right. Well, good afternoon. It's beautiful Sunday here at Jabari's Martial Arts Academy. This is our second podcast. I have a great guest today. But before we do that, just some housekeeping rules. We're going to be doing some live shows where you get a chance to ask some questions. You'll also be able to call in at 313-629-8524. Again, we're at Jabari's Martial Arts Academy located in Sterling Heights, Michigan. You can visit us on Facebook. Also, you can contact us at Jabari.com, or you can go to Just Kick Them. Either one, you can reach us. But to really get a gist of who we are, visit our website, Just Kick Them at .com, or you can send me an email. If it's something you want to know about on the show, if you're a black belt out there that's been around for a long time, send me an email to justkickdem@gmail.com. Now, let's get into the karate sauce. I'm honored to be a host at Just Kickin' It. Just Kickin' It came out of 20-something years ago when we was sitting around and deciding how and what we were going to name our karate school. And one of our parents like, man, I love kicking it. And I'm like, kicking it, right? And so I added just to it. And so this is the Just Kicking It show. Let our guest introduce himself, and then we'll get into the karate sauce. So without further ado, just want to let you know that our producer is DWalls. Great young man here. Did a show last week. Had a chance to see a snippet that you can't see yet, y'all. He's gonna break it out soon. But he is a producer. And if there's anything you ever need, you'll be able to reach out to him. He'll give you some information about that. But let's get right into the karate sauce. I'm going to have our guest introduce himself. Tell us a little bit about your history, when you got started, why you started this stuff, kind of like who pushed you in. I remember you and I having a talk. You saying, not till I'm 50, but I'm going to leave it at that. But go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us about you.
Yes, my name is Harris Arnell Edwards Jr. Grew up here in Detroit, Michigan. And to make it simple, the real reason why I got into martial arts is I grew up on the east side of Detroit. Wanted to be able to defend myself, being a man of small stature. My uncle Otis was a very talented kung fu and judo practitioner out of South Carolina. So he was actually my first instructor, taught me some simple things about judo. And I remember he... Of course, I wanted to spar my uncle like any other kid wanted to. Oh, yeah. That didn't turn out too well.
Never does.
Never does, man. It's like, all right, Uncle, I'm coming back. Next time we spar, the outcome's going to be different. Ended up coming back home. Ran into a cousin of mine over on the east side, well, actually the west side of Detroit, over at the Marathon gas station on 7 Mile in Illinois. The name is Anthony Goddard, and that's my instructor that I've had ever since. So he ran a school called the Goatee School of Combative Arts, or combative back then. Combining is what he actually called it. But studied under him. The style is the Goatee School of Combining Arts. Specialize in wrestling. It's basically a kung fu system. Evolved from that into kickboxing. Fell in love instantaneously. I mean, he did a lot of the acrobatic things that I really enjoy doing as a young age. I love jumping off houses and doing backsomersaults off people's porches, etc. And tied that into the martial arts. Been hooked ever since. It literally is a lifestyle.
Okay.
Started when I was 11 years old. I'm 60 now, and I love it now as much as I did the day I started.
Okay. Now let's talk about, like you say, 11 years old. I remember jumping off the garage and landing on the mattress. I think I probably missed it a couple of times because I got this hickey on the back of my head. But at any rate, at the age of 11, going through the martial arts, we always say it's the only sport where no one rides the bench. Everyone participates in martial arts, and that's why spectators only sit in the stands. But when you're in the program, there's no bench riders.
Still bench riders.
And let's talk about you when it comes to bench riding. You have done some things that people can only imagine, not only at your age, but at a consistent age where people lined up to fight you because of who you are.
Right.
Because of your historical content, folks. It's not about getting in the ring and beating you. It's about just being in the ring with you now. If I can say that, right?
Right.
And I'm going to skip a few things, but I definitely want you to go back. You're a 16-time multi-world champion.
Yes.
You've done it all. You've seen it all. You traveled the world. Let's talk about your first world championship, if you can remember.
Yes. First world championship was actually in Cadiz, Spain. So that I think was in 2011, I believe, or 12. First time exposed. I went there the previous year to coach and instruct my oldest son, Harris Edwards III, aka Swift, in his competition in point fighting and continuous fighting there, and he did really well. And between him and another friend, they convinced me that I should come out and compete the following year.
Yes.
Took a little convincing, but I went out there. So Cadiz, Spain was my first opportunity to go to Worlds and compete as a competitor. Long story short, I actually medaled bronze, I believe, in point fighting, which the president of the team was actually shocked, Master Richard Plow, because he knows I'm not really a point fighter. Although I teach people to point fight, I don't particularly care to point fight, right? I'm actually very good at it. Just chose not to do that.
Gotcha. My
entire martial art career has always been full contact, submissions, takedowns, kicks, whatever it took to win the fight. I had my first kickboxing match or continuous fighting in WKC that year against a gentleman from Belgium, very talented fighter. I got warnings for throwing blows. Apparently, they were too hard, and which is, I think, that's a matter of opinion, depending upon the center ref.
Yeah.
And subsequently, that fight, I got told to slow down, which is kind of bizarre. Center ref pulled me to the side and says, you need to throw your technique slower, your kicks and punches slower. I'm like, you're kidding me, right? And
maybe the camera was too slow.
It was kind of weird.
Okay.
But anyway, I got DQ'd my first Worlds. So I brought home a medal in point fight and no medal in continuous.
Wow.
So that didn't sit well with me. That sat on my mind for 365 days later, right? To come back out there again and compete the following year. So the following year I competed in Montreal, Canada. I brought both my sons to compete that year and a couple of my students. And that was my first goal. I won double gold in both continuous divisions. I think I was one of the very few people who decided to fight in continuous back to back. And back then you would fight your own age group first,
right,
and the younger age group second. I'm like, could we switch that around?
Kind of like the point. I've always been, the point fight. I love point fighting, right? But it's like you win, then you gotta lightweight, heavyweight, middleweight. And you're like, wait a minute.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So Montreal, Canada was my first opportunity to bring home double gold.
Okay,
and that was amazing. I mean, I had put in all these years of work. I've always been the humble warrior. Everyone in Detroit knew who I was. I've been to multiple dojos in the city of Detroit.
Yes, sir.
Old school banging yes, anybody that wanted to get on the mat, right? So, yes, but to get an opportunity to represent the United States on the world stage was amazing.
Yes.
I mean, the energy in that room was just, you can't describe it, So I'll continue to do so. I mean, every year since then, I would come back and compete, and I'm the most winning, successful continuous fighter in the history of WKC.
Wow. And that's a lot. I remember I met you some umpteen years ago. I want to say maybe 20 years ago. I don't know if you remember. We were at a Kibalon.
Yes.
And your instructor came over along with some students and yourself, and he was doing a workshop.
Right.
And my instructor, Grandmaster Marvis Cofield,
yes,
like,
sir.
Oh yeah, Brother Lou going out there. And I was like, what? But it was an honor to meet him and listen to the wisdom outside of the physical techniques that he has. And I see that in you. Knowing you, watching you, we've been to, I don't know, a couple hundred tournaments.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And you and I have judged tournaments. You've been in them. I had a chance to judge you.
Yes.
It was an honor for me to do that, along with some other great folks from around the world. But I think the most important thing that I've always liked about you was your humbleness, your meekness. Even when you knew that you could win the fight.
Right.
you didn't try to batter or beat up on the person because you knew you could win, right?
Correct.
You worked with the fighter. You knew you were going to win the fight. You didn't have to bang his head off, right?
Exactly.
I saw you teaching as you were fighting and continuing sometimes, knowing that you were going to win the fight. What brought that on? What made you feel that way?
Interesting. I think it was honestly the way my instructor trained me. I mean, we trained full contact all the time. I was always the smaller guy. I never had that little man complex, trying to be the little guy, trying to be the big guy.
Yes.
I'm like, I am who I am. I'm going to stay in my lane. I'm quicker than most people.
Yes.
Stronger than people think I am. And the speed itself usually humbles people.
Okay.
You know, I don't even know what I got hit with.
I know I got hit.
I got hit. I don't know with what, right? And I knew how to beat the taller fighter by staying inside. I knew not to stay on the outside. And I just, as a martial artist, we have to remain humble. I do not like arrogant people. I do not like arrogant martial artists, or any sport for that matter, where arrogance becomes the goal.
Yes, sir.
I like to respect people even in combat. But having all those years of full contact fighting, honestly, I felt like that just prepared you to be as humble as you could be.
Okay.
You know, so when I go to a tournament, thinking this is a controlled environment, we're here as athletes, and we're trying to beat each other with technique, not trying to knock each other out. So with that in mind, I've been down that road of knocking people out and being hit by full contact. So I know I have that in me. It's in my genetics.
Yes, sir.
You don't need to show that there. Yeah. I think once you master that, the level of confidence just exudes from you at that level, in a professional, laid-back manner.
Yeah, I've been to some fights where I've watched. Well, I've judged a couple of your fights where we stopped the match.
Yes.
And I'm not saying luckily, because I don't believe in luck, but from a sports perspective, we stopped the match because it was going one way, right? And the other person knew it. They were like, "Hey, cool, no problem. I learned a lot from this guy." Came back, bowed out, right, and stepped to the side and talked to you and said, "Hey, appreciate fighting you. You know, what can I do best?" And I'm saying all that to say, that humble part has taught so many sports karate fighters to understand that every moment in the ring is a teaching moment, right?
Yes.
One thing I teach my students, I teach them how to lose first.
Absolutely.
A lot of folks in different schools you and I have been to, and some of the black belts here, they go to schools, especially and continuous a lot. They go to schools and what they see after the child loses or believe he lost in his head, because that's what his instructors taught him.
Right.
They take off the equipment and they throw it around the room.
Ooh, yeah.
Right? And they kick it around the room, having no respect for the art itself and or the people there. I've never seen your sons, your family, your students do that. I've always seen your students walk up to a person, shake their hand, "How you doing? What more can I learn?" We try to push that on students. When you win, you still ask, "What more can you learn?"
Absolutely.
You never lose when you compete.
Right.
How do you teach students to get better when their philosophy is, "I lost, I don't feel good about that"?
Yeah, I really focus on, you haven't really been pushed until you've lost.
Okay.
If you haven't lost, you haven't learned. You just don't. If you're fortunate enough to be lucky or blessed to have had 100 fights and haven't lost any of those fights,
yes, sir,
what happens when you do lose? And what happens is what you just talked about. They explode, they take the hat off, they take the belt off, they slam on the floor, they run to the center ref, they're arguing with the center ref. Every single time that I've lost a match due to bad judging or the center refs giving warnings that was not justified, there's never any evidence on video ever of me losing my cool. We had that talk, but it's on the sideline. Right?
Keep it in the house.
We keep it in the house. Me and that opponent has that talk on the sideline, like, you got a blessing today. You know you didn't win that fight.
Yes, sir.
The video's coming out.
Yes, sir.
And you can judge it yourself.
I like that.
End of story.
I like that.
And being a humble warrior is the secret. So my kids learn how to lose young.
Yes, sir.
Man, you got to lose. And even losing in the dojo.
Yes,
that's
sir.
where it starts. Right.
Yes.
And then so I remember taking my kids to their first tournaments, and they were small. 20, 30 competitors. This is where we're going to start, and we're going to build from here. And then we'll take you out to the big tournaments where there might be 500 competitors.
Yes, sir.
Grow. Start small. We got to crawl first. Then we can start walking. Then we can run. And then you can start fighting in the big leagues.
Yeah.
If I throw you to the wolves, that's my fault.
Yeah. Yeah, normally in those small tournaments, some of those folks that you see at the small tournaments are going to be at the big tournaments.
Oh, yes.
And they become world champions.
Yes.
And I like that. We do have some people that are fought in the world who are here in the audience today. And she's home from the University of Michigan along with her dad who's here. They both of them got their black belts. But I say that to say that your family, our thing is a family that's kicking it together, stays together.
Absolutely.
And we like to keep that in our family. Let's throw your family in there for a second. Then I want to jump back and see if there's a question or something they may have or a comment they might want to say to you.
Okay.
But let's talk about real quick a snippet of when your family saw how much you were putting into this, right?
Yes.
Because it's not like I'm going to train once a week and I'll be home, later on.
Right.
That's not how you win.
That's not how you win.
How did your family gravitate towards saying, okay, we all in this together?
Yeah, that was that's probably one of the most proudest moments as a father is every dad wants their kid to follow their footsteps, but I refuse to force my sons to do what I wanted them to do. And they saw the passion and love. My dojo was in the house.
Yes, sir.
So they saw me training 7 days out the week, 4 times, 5 times, twice a day. Class was always there, and they come down and they watch.
Yes.
And my oldest son, Harris, was, I have pictures and video of him when he was crawling with gloves on and he was throwing punches.
Wow.
And his little brother, Austin, same thing. I didn't make them train. I was praying they would. Can I have one of them that follows me and loves the sport and understand the mental discipline to be good at this sport and be considered the best in the world? It takes work. Yeah. We train twice a week, but you got to train another 3 times on your own.
Wow.
And I didn't make them. Harris fell in love with it instantaneously. Austin fell in love with it next. Austin kind of fell out of love with it for about a year, came back.
Okay.
The end result of it is that it carries over in everything else they've done in life. Academically sharp, polite, the young gentleman, and proud to say I've had an opportunity to share the mat with them at the World Championships and come home with double gold medals, and they come home with gold medals on the same day. And man, that's just epic when you watch all the hard work you put into your children show such good results.
I like that. Let's talk about one last thing, just in case somebody in the audience may have a question or comment. If they do, that's great. We'll take it. If not, we'll keep going, but we will give them an opportunity. Your last match.
Yes.
Was that 2023?
21.
21?
Yeah, it's been almost 2 years.
You didn't go to Florida this year, right?
No, I didn't.
Okay. I know we talked about you with it. So I had that match. I watched it, by the way. Yeah, a lot of us watched it. I'll tell you about later.
Yeah.
But tell me about that match. I mean, you look confident. You look healthy. Look like you lost some weight at that time. I don't know what it was, but
right.
You look energetic. Like, it's not like you had been away from the sport.
Right.
Is that just the way you look before you do a match all the time?
Pretty much.
Yeah, because you look really ready.
Yeah, I don't believe in coming not ready.
Yeah, your mindset was...
Yeah, your mind ain't right, your body ain't right.
Okay.
So I've always believed in making sure my head was right.
Yes, sir.
Because it's 80% mental and 20% skill. That's factual. So I always train this first and the body comes second.
Okay.
And I just truly believe that every competitor that I've ever fought against isn't training harder than I am.
Okay.
And I just make that true. I mean, to this day, I average anywhere from 6,000 to 9,000 push-ups a month.
Wow.
Just because.
A month.
Wow.
Just I'll probably lift the spoon at times. But that's what you have to do, right? Consistency helps you. And I tell folks, it's not about training hard. It's being consistent with your training, right?
Consistent, absolutely.
You can't do a push-up. You do a half push-up. The next day you do a full push-up,
that's
right?
Correct.
And you keep going. So I've seen a lot of people work themselves out of a tournament.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because they work so hard. And now they to the point where they work themselves out, where they don't even have stamina. They can't even get past the first round.
Yeah, you can definitely overtrain. I've only done that a couple of times in my life, and it cost me. I overtrain. It's rare that I overtrain, but you can. And interesting enough, you mentioned that last fight, Jose Hernandez, I believe. I might be pronouncing the name wrong. Was the guy I fought against. 2 2 years to get the chance to fight him again. Couldn't wait. And this happened. It was meant to be.
Yes, sir.
I mean, what's the odds that he would still be a champion and I would get the opportunity to share the mat with him?
Yeah.
Speaking of looking calm and relaxed and healthy, calm, yes. Healthy, no. But I always make sure my opponent doesn't know that I'm not healthy because I wasn't healthy.
At that fight?
Not at all.
You just was ready to fight?
Yep. I had a floating piece of cartilage in my leg. Both shoulders were done. Couldn't raise my hands above my head on my own. Called the doctor a couple of nights before. It says, no warming up, no training. Show up on fight day, put your gear on, and fight.
Wow.
So what people got to witness was me coming off the floor, put my clothes on, and fight.
Nobody knew that, right? Because you carry the same demeanor.
Yes.
Not at only every tournament, but every time I see you.
Right.
Which is a great thing. Let's jump to Portugal coming up in 2024.
Ooh, I'm excited.
We just had an opportunity to go to Florida last year.
Yes.
We had a full team there, came from our school. And
beautiful. We
were happy to be a part of Team USA. Whenever you could do anything with USA, you happy, trust me.
Yes.
It's like when you come here, or we go to places like Portugal and Spain, all these other places, when they see us, the feeling they get from shaking a person's hand from the United States, can I buy your jersey? How much is that? Can I let you sign this for me? 2024 for you is going to be a big year because this is a place you say you really want to go back to.
Yes.
Always call it unfinished business. Opportunity, though, 2024 is probably going to be a big year for WKC because we have a lot more, not only younger talent, but here's the interesting thing, seasoned talent, right? One of our favorite fighters, Morgan Plowden, just retired.
She did.
And I'm happy for Morgan, but I'm sad to see her go. But I like the way she's opened up the box for other fighters to get involved.
Absolutely.
So that's going to help WKC. And we may have 10 or 15 fighters at this next coming tournament, I'm sure, all women. But I'm saying that to say, with you, people are so happy that you even given a thought to participating because that's going to bring a lot of fighters out.
Yeah, well, I'll make it perfectly clear. My participation would be coaching.
Are you sure?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So it's fun. The funny story behind that is that some people that I highly respect in the game, I mean, that these are legends in the sport.
Yes, sir.
And with wisdom are like, do you realize how many people are going to be happy you're not competing?
Sure.
This is because when you competed, chances are they wouldn't come home with the medal.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, well, I'm glad that they felt that way. And, winning the fight is mental.
Yes, sir.
So they were defeated before I started. That's good for me.
Yeah.
Right?
And part of that is even with the, Richard Plowden and other folks who are warriors, the Walter Kings, the Danny Dixons, all these folks before us, like you again, when they find out you're not fighting, they line up to fight.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I don't have to go through that round.
Right.
Right? Because if you lose in the first round, that's it, right?
Right. Well, what makes Portugal so special to me, but once again, that's where it started for us as an Edwards family.
Yes, sir.
Competing on the world team with my oldest son.
Yes, sir.
And we get to go back to that venue. And that place for me was it's gorgeous.
Okay.
I mean, the venue that we were at before was amazing, right on the ocean front. I remember taking pictures in the caves with my son and my boys and my wife, just to reminisce and have that experience again. And both my boys are done. One son is professional, working in his professional field now for 5 years. My youngest son's done with grad school. It all started with martial arts at the house. And it all comes back to that. And so next year they get an opportunity to fight again.
Oh.
So the goal is to bring both of the Edward boys back out in Portugal. So I'm excited to hopefully make that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the coaching part, I know you're ecstatic about that, but more ecstatic about the sons stepping in that area and having an opportunity, right? We talk about so many folks who never get a chance to cross the street, let alone get on a jet or a plane and fly across the world.
Oh, man.
We got kids that are 6, 7, and 8 years old. I never flew in an airplane when I was 6 or 7, not even probably 11, 12, 13, right? But my point is that, for the Harris family, to be able to see that witnessed that is monumental. It's something that's unforgettable.
Yeah.
Like my daughter, I trained her for 19 years.
Right.
And she fought. Wasn't the best fighter in the world, but she fought some of the best in the world, right? Did forms and weapons and did well. But the most important part is it's a great feeling to know that, okay, we're good.
Right.
Your child can grow up now without you because they got this, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So let's swing it over. We got a mom and dad. I mean, a mom and dad. Did I say mom and dad?
You did say mom
It's
and
not
dad.
a mom. A dad and daughter duo in martial arts. We have a lot of family members, even at your school. And both of them got their black belts here. One has been on a WKC World Team before.
Nice.
Young lady now at the University of Michigan.
Fantastic.
Dad teaches here 2 days a week and does an exceptional job. And I wanted to know if they had anything they wanted to say to you, because it's to me, from an African perspective, from a black perspective, from a BIPOC, black indigenous people of color, from that perspective, we have to celebrate us. We don't do that enough. We down us a lot, but we don't bring us up.
Right.
And it's great to see if a person that looks like me in your position, and that's having people power.
Yes.
Right? Because you generate more people. All right? So if there's anything that our guests want to say, you got a moment to take a question or two?
Absolutely.
Or a comment. I don't know what they want to say, because this is impromptu and we do everything.
Right.
Everything's
Yeah.
live,
I'm perfectly fine with impromptu.
Okay.
Mr. Harris, mine is a two-part question.
Yes, sir.
First one is, when you're just starting up, assessment of your competitors itself. Do you assess them by watching them first, or you actually participate in the fight and then get to know exactly what does it take to beat them?
The second part is the answer to the question. Because unlike boxing, I train a lot of MMA fighters, a lot of professional MMA fighters in the UFC, etc. And I study tape for them. They're like, hey, Harris, I got this match coming up. Here's a guy I'm fighting. Can you study the tape? Very relevant, right? It helps, but it also can be a disservice, because that person may not fight you that way. And you prepared for a particular technique and they don't use that technique. And with WKC, it's like going to a dojo. You just fight whoever show up.
Right.
I don't know anything about this man across the mat from me. So I assess them while I fight them. By range. We ball in. I'm assessing his eye contact, his body language, and his first 2 or 3 technique he throws lets me know what he's capable of. I could be falling into a trap. He might be throwing something slow, but he's actually fast, which I kind of do that to people. I kind of wool people to sleep, and then all of a sudden the 13 kick punch combination comes out. But I assess people during the match. I don't really care what they did before. And if I did see video of them and they were phenomenal, I'm thinking, because my friend beat him don't mean I can, and vice versa. So I just take it as a new opponent, and my mindset is I'm not losing.
Okay.
Great question.
Yep. The second part of the question is, how do you overcome the fear or intimidation? There's potential to get hurt bad.
Good question.
How do I what now?
Overcome the
Oh,
fear and intimidation.
I love that question.
Yeah.
Because people say, man, you look so calm when you fight. You don't like you nervous at all. I'm like, dude, I'm nervous like everybody else. I says, a sergeant of mine in the state police had a saying that I live by, and he says, all the nerves are going to be just like a flock of geese, and they're going to come together and they're going to fly away in formation as soon as that bell rings. And that's exactly what happens. So as soon as that bell rings and my opponent throws that first punch and hits me, or he throws it at me, or I throw the first punch, nerves over. Prior to that, I'm as nervous as the next cat. If you're not nervous, you're not human. So I'm able to adjust to the nervousness and put it away, and then pursue with a successful outcome. But to say you're not nervous, it means something's not working right up here. You got to screw loose.
It's part of
It's human nature.
the human body.
It's human nature, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
gotta
that's
have that, right?
Right. That's what makes you faster. That's what makes you stronger. That's what makes you more calculating. That's what makes you intelligent about the fight. If you just throw caution to the wind and don't care, 9 out of 10, you're probably going to lose.
Know thyself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is there another question?
No, that was it for me, sir. Thank you.
Okay, great.
I'll pass into the next spectator.
I had a quick question about, as someone who's practiced so many different styles that have so many different rules and applications in the ring, how do you find yourself kind of differentiating when you go into point fighting, kind of like holding back maybe your punches, your sweeps, and like your techniques? Do you have like a MMA fighting side, like a point fighting side? How do you differentiate that when you're in the ring?
Yes, good question. We do. Our style's that way. I can't take credit for that. I give that credit to my instructor. We've always been a cross training system from day one. So I've never really been per se a point fighter. I do own a world title in point fighting and a bronze in point fighting and silver in point fighting. So I teach all my students how to point fight. When they come to the tournaments, they point fight and they do continuous. And the reason being is that you need to be able to adapt on the fly. So when we visit other schools, I've gone to judo schools and they go, "Hey, me coming in out this spar?" Yes. I said, "Well, we don't throw punches and kicks here. We're working on throws. We in and we throw." And they go, "Well, we're going to a wrestling gym. But wrestling gym, they don't do hip toss." Okay. Then we're going to do double legs. So we adapt on the fly, just like you're going to have to adapt on the street. The true foundation of martial arts, in my humble opinion, is self-defense, being able to bang when you need to, and you have to adapt to the situation. So I take the same thing in the tournament world. If I go to a point match, I do point fighting rules. I go to continuous, I do continuous rules. WKC, I absolutely love. NLI, if out there, want to go there. They don't do sweeps the way I like to do sweeps, so I had to turn it off. You know, hey, you say I can't do it, I can't do it. So I'm like, I got to make that adjustment like right now. But being intelligent about it, I knew that before I got there, right? You should be doing your homework. So when you go compete, you should know the rules when you get there. They got on a website, read it, and it says you can't do this particular technique. There was a point in time where they didn't want you to throw uppercuts or hooks. That comes to the case, you have to be able to turn it off. Otherwise, you're going to get a warning and subsequently get DQ'd for throwing techniques that are not allowed. So I've never had a problem adapting on the fly, nor my students.
No matter how much you teach them one way or your school teaches one way, you still have to be able to adapt.
Absolutely.
You and I can probably remember some time ago, we were doing growing techniques. Growing techniques counted.
Especially in Ishiru.
In Ishiru, especially Ishiru. That's why a lot of folks was like, "This is an Ishiru tournament." And I'm like, I ain't going, right? But and it got to the sport karate before we really gave it the name sports karate. There were still some growing techniques in some of the tournaments. And literally, being, standing, watching, judging or whatever, you hear people's growing cups crack.
Yes.
When they get hit, right? When they get hit with a crack. And then that tournament is over for that person that day.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. It just cracked the cup. It was over.
It's over.
Bowed out. Couldn't go. But it was allowed, right? You get a good sweep and you follow up with a snap kick to the groin, it's over with.
Right.
And so a lot of things that were going on, previously, don't do it anymore.
Right.
Right? They don't do it anymore. The contact that was taking place where folks weren't wearing all this gear, things like that, you don't do it anymore because of liability.
Absolutely.
Because of safety, because of lawsuits, and because the sport has changed. And I'm glad it has changed because it does help us to show children more control.
Yes.
Right? Now, when you get to that black belt level, there's a level where you can go to the face and you can have some harder contact.
Yes.
But remember, you are in the black belt division.
Correct.
Right? So again, it goes back to what you said. You don't have a problem with adapting. You just have to know the rules prior to going to the match. Right?
Absolutely.
Going to a Taekwondo tournament, which Orvi, who just asked that question, she's doing some other cross training. You got to know, you ain't going to be doing too many punches to the body because they ain't going to allow that.
Right.
Right? However, kicks would be great. Right? But you got to remember how many kicks you can do, how many off the front leg, how many off the back leg. And then subconsciously, remember, you don't want that sports karate part to just jump in all of a sudden. You're like, bang, bang. Let's say, whoa. Right? Because it happens.
Oh, it does.
If the adrenaline gets to going.
Right.
From a continuous sparring, I've watched you fight. I can't remember the date. This was some years ago. We were here in Michigan. And the first thing we said was, Don't stop until the judges say stop, right?
That's right.
And you will literally use that, right?
Oh, yeah.
And one thing I wasn't the center of the side, Reverend. You said, well, sir, you said don't stop till the judge say stop. And the judge said, well, you see him stop. He say, well, we still fighting.
That's it.
You didn't step out.
That's right.
That's what I'm talking about. Because when you're talking about a world champion, 16-time multi throughout the United States and other countries, you have to have gone through some things to get there.
Right.
You didn't just fall in your lap and say, here you go.
Right.
We're going to give you this. You had to work for each one of those.
Right.
And a lot of folks can talk the talk, but have never walked in your shoes.
Right.
So that's why we have you here, because what we're doing today is not only history for us, but it's history for them.
Correct.
Because no one's going to tell this story better than we are.
Right. Yeah. Well, you hit a real valid point about, we all like to talk, and I'm really quiet about what I do unless someone starts talking
Yes,
about
sir.
it, and then I'm willing to share it, right?
Yes, sir.
And I'm a firm believer in proofs in the pudding. I mean, my students can't say my instructor has us doing certain things that he could never do. I don't believe in that. I mean, granted, if you got an injury, something physically
Going on.
that's different, right?
Yes, sir.
But it's because you've become lazy and you just want to teach with the mouth, and you don't have any physical experience
Yes, sir.
of doing what you're teaching, then you ought to not teach.
Yeah.
So have an opportunity to fight full contact in the boxing ring and on the streets and different dojos, and then at the world level with different rules, being able to adapt to change instantaneously. It's such a huge learning curve, but it's so rewarding.
Yes, sir.
And to pass that on to the students is amazingly gratifying, man.
Chilling, isn't it?
Yeah, I love it, man. I love doing seminars, and as you very well know,
Yes, sir.
I love going out, sharing my knowledge and not keeping it to myself. A lot of people get what they get and they keep it to themselves. How selfish is that?
Yeah. That's one thing we push here at the school, is that we want every black belt to have their own school. We want every black belt to understand, you take this and you make it better. You make it bigger,
Right.
broader than what it is, right?
Absolutely.
You grow it. Put your seasoning on it.
Absolutely.
I always tell folks, punch is a punch, but if you add a little seasoning, it can be a little faster. Where they won't see, what happened? You just got hit, like you said earlier. But sometimes we have to, I always say, flip the script better than the page was turned before. That means when you flip over to the next chapter, the next page, add your own stuff to it,
Right.
right? You're still going to bring that traditional stuff back, but when you flip it and add a little bit to it,
Right.
and we can go on, but and we talk about the Sugar Ray Leonards.
Yes.
We talk about the Tommy Hitman Hearns, the Milton
Yes.
McCory boys. We talk about them all different times, right?
Yep.
One thing they had, everything was different. One dance, one talk, one hand was out of sight.
Yep.
Right? He could talk stuff and tell you when he was going to knock you out.
That's correct.
And that was based on looking at your tapes.
Yep.
Right? Oh, I look at your feet and show you can't last for 3 rounds, right? Because you used to knocking folks out. Well, we going to go 7 rounds today.
Right.
And he let you beat yourself because you can't
That's
go
right.
7 rounds.
That's right.
So just like with you, a continuous fighting, I tell folks, point fighting is great. I love it. I've learned a lot from point sparring. The only difference is continuous sparring, you ain't stopping.
Nope.
It's full. You going. You continuously sparring. Point fight, we stop, we call a point. Continuous, you might have to fight 2-3 minutes. You might have to come back and fight another round.
Right.
And another round. And don't win because you got to come back and fight again.
Right.
Oh, no, you got to fight again.
Right.
So I'm saying all that so people can understand that it sounds relatively simple. But if you don't train the way you need to be trained for it, it could be relatively hard.
Right. The bottom line is you train the way you want to fight.
Say that again, sir.
You train the way you want to fight.
That's it.
It's just that simple. So I've had an opportunity to train some amazing point fighters. These guys like high level, like top of the food chain.
Yes, sir.
And I respect what they do. It's amazing. And then they decide they want to tap over into continuous.
Okay.
I'm like, well, fine, let's train for continuous.
Ooh,
but if you train for point and think that's going to some of that what you do in point absolutely translates into continuous, but the cardio doesn't.
Not at all.
Not at all.
You ain't got no cardio. You can't go.
I don't care how good you are, man. When the gas tank is empty,
It's empty.
it's over with. Now the guy's gas tank is still full, you're in trouble. And developing bad muscle memory habits of turning your back and walking away because this point you just scored and this guy was perfectly clear. The world saw it.
Yes, sir.
But the judges didn't call it.
Woo.
And it continues. You do that, that's the guy that turns his back and the ref didn't say break and you still piecing him up.
Okay, pay attention, judges. And I've always found this out about judging. And then we're gonna wrap up. Is that judges make the fight. You know, that means you need somebody that's paying attention, somebody who knows this sport, someone who's going to be following the ring. You know, one thing we teach at our school, and I know you do it too. A judge standing still can never judge me.
No.
You standing still, you can't see the fight.
You can't.
Because the fighters are going like this.
Yeah.
How are you going to call a point?
Yeah, that's a huge pit
Right?
peeve for me.
So I look, and I say this because I always say that there are some things that we're all great at. And one of the things I really enjoy is judging. And I look to other judges to see where they are. Mm-hmm. And I don't have a problem telling them, hey, sir, I'm going to need you to be excused. Right? Yeah. You're not even paying attention. You're doing like this. No, I need you. Yeah. Watch the fight.
Well, that happened last year at Richard Plowden's tournament. After the national championships.
Okay.
Well, it was this year. And I won't mention names.
Right.
Magnificent man. We've become friends since then. He was a judge.
Okay.
I was the center.
Okay.
And 2 fights in a row, he picked the other fighter to win, but the other judges didn't. What's the solution? I pulled him to the side. I says, we need to fix this today because I don't know. Could you explain to me how is it that you thought this other person won that fight? And he gave me his explanation. I says, well, your explanations are absolutely incorrect. And these are the reasons why it's incorrect. And you need to fix that so you can become a better judge.
There you go.
He did. He lives up in North Michigan, drove all the way to Kentucky when I did a seminar to come watch and learn.
There you go. That's how you do it.
I'm like, man, I respect that man so much for that.
There you go.
This is a man who was probably 20 years older than you and I.
Yes, sir. I'm familiar.
Yeah. I respect the world for him.
Teaching moment, but we all have moments where we can learn from one another, right?
Absolutely.
I always tell folks the one thing I love to be is not right or wrong, but understood.
Understood.
That's it. I don't need to be right.
Why you made that decision, and now that you've explained it to me, that's incorrect for what we're doing.
Okay.
In fact, it doesn't have any bearing at all.
I like that.
You know, and now you know.
Okay.
You know, and now he's using it, and he's probably going to be a great judge as a result of it.
He is.
But how many times does that go on to determine that no one ever says anything? A lot.
Yeah. In some rings, yes, a lot, right?
They're not talking to people at all.
But when you have certain judges that are centering, there are some judges that won't even walk in that ring because they already know that center referee is going to make sure that you're paying attention.
Absolutely.
Because I'll tell you, if I'm sweating work in the middle of the ring, like you and I sweat,
right,
and you standing there, I can't use you.
Right.
Because I shouldn't be running. I mean, I don't have a problem running around, but I need you to run around too.
Exactly.
Because you ain't seeing, like you said, you're not seeing what I'm seeing.
Right, yeah.
No way you can call
especially in point fighting. If you call the point and the guy, you're on the backside and you call the point, you didn't see it. You heard it. He could have hit it.
And you called the point because you heard it.
You heard it. You hit him in the arm.
No connection. Love it. So we're gonna wrap up, but we got about we want to give you a 10-second flurry, which means we got to ring back in, and it'll be nice. You don't have to go full. Just a 1, 2, 3 combination, something that works for you, something that the people can see, and don't give away your secrets. This is a legend. And, we always put up a ring. What a great place to have a live podcast in actual ring. And we have an actual size ring back here. We actually sit in one. And if you have a couple of seconds just to show a 1, 2, 3, boom, boom, boom. That's it. Okay. Because we don't want folks to be sitting at home recording your stuff, right? knowing that Portugal's coming up. And again, before we leave, if you're interested, you're a black belt, you've been around for umpteen years, whether you're older or younger than myself, we want those legends first, of course. Send me an email to justkickdem@gmail.com or check us out on justkickdem.com and or on Facebook because no one, again, is going to tell these stories, man. I can't wait till we let this fly to the YouTube channel hits and then hopefully we get some good press from a couple of TV stations.
It'll be amazing.
It will be amazing. We're looking to do 30 to 50 interviews. The producer, DWalls, is awesome. But also, if you ever want a copy of this information, talk with him, find out how we can make that happen. Because this right here, you're not going to get nowhere else.
Right.
And that's why it's called Just Kicking It. So we ring seconds, man. We got a ring back here. I'm not going to spar, but As long as you don't hit me, I can stand right here.
Oh, no. Where's your focus pads, man? You got no focus
Yeah, I got some focus pads. Hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3. And you know what? We got 2 black belts sitting over here that we willing to hold them, I'm sure, right? I just throw them out there like that. But I guess they didn't get up, so no, I'm just kidding. So this is just the 1, 2, 3 punch, guys, and again, don't try this at home. If you want to get the proper training, he's going to give you his information. 16-time multi-platinum world champion, been all over the United States and other countries. I was trying to get him to go to Portugal to fight so I could see him one more time. I'm thinking he'll sleep on it, but his sons is just as good.
Oh, yeah.
And I think they'll be even greater if they focus and pay attention to what Dad has to offer. He still got something in the tank.
What is something?
Remember, an instructor never teaches the student everything, right?
That's correct.
All right. I should have. That good?
Well, that's good. Yeah, we'll just do a quick 1, 2, 1.
Uh-huh.
And if you remember, just bring that
Boom.
with a snap and that same hand up for a roundhouse.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's 1, 2, 1, 2,
1, then snap,
boom.
then round. Yeah, bring it right. Both of these gonna be body height.
Oh, okay.
We ain't warmed up. We came right up the chair to the neck.
I'm thinking about my age, right? I'm 6 feet 3. Something like that.
So we're gonna go 1, 2, 1.
So,
yeah.
1, 2,
1. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So 1, 2, 1. Then snap.
boom,
Then
and
roundhouse.
boom. Let's give him a hand. And again, these are basic techniques, guys. This is something that you want to learn. This is something that, again, if you want the proper technique and you want to learn this, you're going to learn from someone who knows what they're doing. This would not be my area of expertise, by the way. So I'll let him give you his information, how you can reach out to him, and how you can get things going. Again, he's not only a 16-time multi-world champion, but he's a world champion coach. Folks forget that the coaching becomes before the kicking and punching, right? You have to know what you're doing before you do it. Is that right, sir?
That's correct.
So you want to give your information out?
Sure.
We'd love for you to do that.
Sure.
And then we'll close out and we'll thank our guests.
All right, yeah. So I can be reached at harrisedwardsjr@gmail.com. So it's harrisedwardsjr@gmail.com. Also, feel free to call me at 517-719-6175. Have a YouTube channel. You can go with the @ Harris PD Quick. So it's HARRIS PD and then QUICK to get you straight to my channel. Or you can even type in my name, Harris Edwards Jr. on YouTube. And I have a lot of videos posted of me just doing some techniques and some of the competitions that I've been competing in. And some of the techniques that we just talked about, me doing those actually on a bob at full speed at 60 years old, having fun, still loving the sport.
Yeah, I saw that.
So, and also have a Facebook page under my name, so I can be reached in any of those formats. I'm about the love of the sport. We are what we preach. So anyone wants to come out and learn what I'm doing, have me come out to do seminars and teach. I love doing that. It's just what we're supposed to do, you know.
We appreciate that. Again, 16-time world champion, multi-platinum, has done it all, seen it all, and still look like he's about 35 years old. I love that. Remember, justkickdem@gmail.com or justkickedem.com. Watch us on Facebook. We're always dropping something there. And our guests, again, I'm so excited you came in. I'm happy for you. You drove down, and you could be doing a lot of things, but you spent your afternoon with just kicking it. And we appreciate you kicking it with us. Also want to thank our guest who's in the audience. A dad-daughter duo will be on the show. Not on the 24th because that's celebration. People celebrate Christmas and Kwanzaa and things like that. But they're going to be on the show the following week after that. Looking forward to that.
Awesome.
And again, if you have any questions, reach out to us at 313-629-8524. 313-629-8524. My name is Olu Jabari, and we thank you for joining our show. Again, 313-629-8524. Our producer is Mr. DWalls, and you can reach him here every Sunday, with the exception of next Sunday. Again, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And as always, keep kicking it.
Thanks for having me. Amazing.